Hey, nonprofit visionaries. This is Shalita, the nonprofitista O'Neill, and today I wanted to talk to you about developing an exit strategy for your nonprofit. And I know you might be saying, well, what do you mean by an exit strategy? What I mean is that, of course, we start our nonprofit organizations and, we're just worried about getting everything up and running and growing and providing our services and our programs. But you also have to think about what will be your exit strategy, whether that's personally as the nonprofit executive, as the leader of the organization. What are you going to do, or how are you going to plan for when that day comes when you want to go on to do other things? Maybe you've been running your organization for a while and you've developed another way to approach the issue that you initially wanted to address, right? Maybe you want to start another nonprofit, or maybe you want to, just spend more time with your family at some point, or maybe you want to go on and start a business. Whatever the situation may be, you should be thinking about, okay, not only how am I going to start my organization, but how am I going to make my exit ultimately? Not everybody wants to be running a nonprofit for 25, 30, 40 years. I mean, if that's what you want to do, then that's fine. By all means, dig your heels in and prepare for that. But if at some point you may be thinking about, okay, I just want to start this organization, ultimately what you want to be doing is working yourself out of a job. When we start nonprofits, we're starting to address a need or a cause that's very important to us. And the whole purpose is to right a wrong or to fix something in the world that we believe is broken. So our goal, hopefully through our work, is that ultimately we will fix whatever we started out to fix. And it won't be an ongoing issue forever and ever and ever. You'll be doing the same work the same way in the next 30 years. No, we want to progress. We want to change things. We want to work ourselves out of a job. So I want to give you a couple of things to think about, and I'm going to make sure I look at my notes as well so I don't go, I could talk to y'all forever because I love you. But, but we want to stick to the topic. So a couple of ways or things that you should start to think through and put in place in your organization to make it easy, not just for you around your exit strategy, but also your organization. Because let's say, okay, maybe there's two different steps or two different ways to do this and two different things to think about. So you yourself, as a nonprofit executive, as the founder of the organization, wanting to have a backup plan or exit strategy for you and what you want to move on to do. But also maybe at some point your organization does fulfill the need. You do right or wrong. And what you started your organization for is no longer needed, or your organization is no longer needed. Or at some point, maybe you run into financial issues and you need to start thinking about how are you going to have an exit strategy for your nonprofit organization. And I'll have a separate video that goes into detail about what those different options could look like and some things you should be aware of when you're going through that or about to go through it, or maybe you aren't there yet, but just for you to be aware, okay? But first, let's just talk about your personal exit strategy. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you build a culture in your organization of human capital development. So you want to make sure that when you have your employees, that it's not just a place where you take from them, but you're also developing an atmosphere and a culture where you are pouring into them, where you are allowing them to participate in leadership development activities, personal development activities, where you are actually, when you're doing your evaluations, your performance evaluations, you are listening for what is it that they would like to have as far as their personal and professional development. Because when you pour into your people and into your team, into your staff, they in turn will be able to pour into the organization. A lot of times people will think, oh, well, we're going to go ahead and just, work them hard. Yes, people are dedicated, especially in the nonprofit field. People have a very deep connection to the work, and they'll go above and beyond, a lot of times sacrificing self-care and what makes them feel good. And ultimately, that is not good for the organization. But when you're doing these things as far as providing a culture of leadership development and a culture where you're developing human capital, You're also developing people or grooming people that can move into leadership positions in the organization. So as you're thinking about your exit strategy or thinking what that could look like, as being a founder or as being someone who has had a hand in the organization for many years, right? You have your influence and you've developed all of these resources and contacts and partnerships and collaborations. But when you leaving in and of itself, because of that, is going to cause some rifts and, issues that you may have to tend to, and, people getting used to who's the new person that's going to be coming through. But if you've developed a culture of human capital development, then you have people within your organization who you've been grooming that can then step into your role, and not just your role, but other leadership roles when they transition out, because that can be a tumultuous time for an organization, a time of tremendous change, and we want to minimize any issues. So the point for that is, one, make sure from the beginning, whether you've been running an organization for a very long time or whether you're just getting started, make sure that everything that you're doing is developing the people and grooming the people that you're going to be working with. Because ultimately, if something happens to you or happens to a key leadership position or key employee in a leadership position, you have a pool of people internally that, one, cares about the mission, that understands the different roles that you can then tap to bring them into to fill those positions. Okay, so that's very important. Now, as far as you are concerned with your exit strategy, I suggest that you also have a succession plan in place. And I'll do another video, because I don't want these to get too long, about what you should have in your succession planning. Put a policy in place so that you, of course, working in tandem with the board, so that regardless of whether it's your role or whether it's other leadership positions within the organization, that you have a plan in place for when people are transitioning out of their roles. Because if you're in a position where the organization still has a lot of work to do, you're still wanting to continue the work that you're doing, and you don't want to fold the organization or dissolve the organization, you're still going to need to be able to pick up and operate and provide your programming and services regardless of transition and who's leaving and who's going. Okay, so make sure that you're thinking about that. And I hope that was helpful. This is just a quick video, just to let you know that start thinking about the exit plan for you as a nonprofit executive and for your organization overall. At some point, you're going to want to transition out of your role, and someone else is going to need to step in. If you choose to continue the organization, someone else is going to need to step in and fill your shoes. They're not going to be able to quite do that, but they need to fill your role and continue the work. So you have to start thinking about what are some things you need to put in place, or think about, number one, a succession plan and how to put those things in place so that if that happens, and when that happens, the organization can continue to do the work with as little bumps in the road as possible. Also, start thinking about, okay, in 30 years, you may have fixed the problem that you started your organization for. And instead of just having a nonprofit looming around when you've already done the work, if you don't plan on shifting your mission and purpose and doing something different, then you may consider closing the organization together or dissolving the organization. And that may be an exit strategy for your organization overall. Some people run into financial hardships. I know, speaking personally, I come from my personal background. That's why I'm sharing this, because it's something that I had to consider both aspects. So individually exiting the organization, but also my organization, one of my first nonprofit organization was actually dissolved because it was acquired by a larger organization. And that will be another video that I do for you. What is acquisition or nonprofit acquisition? Is it an option? Could it be an option for you at some point? And under what circumstances could it be an option for you? I'll do a video on that as well. But I had to think through, okay, well, I've been running this organization. At that point, it was 8 or 9 years, and I wanted to go on to do something different. We were beginning to have financial issues because of a couple of our funders, our large funders, had shifted their priorities. And I also just wanted to move on and approach the issue a little bit differently than what I have been for the past, at that point, 8 or 9 years. And that's okay too. So I want you all to understand that there are different circumstances that will come up in your organization. Everything is not going to be peaches and cream. Everything's not going to be, oh, making millions. Even though I did raise millions of dollars for my organization, it came to a point, especially in the nonprofit world, where my revenue streams at that point wasn't diverse enough to continue the work, and I just wanted to shift. So I transitioned out of my organization, but have been grooming multiple people around me to be able to pick up the torch where I left off. And ultimately, when we were acquired and the organization was dissolved, this larger organization then took responsibility for my nonprofit. It was no longer a nonprofit anymore. It became a program of this larger organization. So that was my organization's exit strategy, acquisition. It may not be for you. It might be something different. You may want to completely dissolve your organization at some point down the line. You may want to just keep it going, but you have options. So let's not only think about what we do when we're starting the organization and be so in the weeds sometimes that, you know, we don't pay attention to, all right, what are the normal growth cycles of a organization? And at some point you may want to go ahead and shift your focus and close the organization, or you transition to do something else in your life for whatever reason. So have those things, you know, just tuck those into your toolkit. I hope that was helpful. Again, I've put some links below as well that might be a little bit more helpful in addition to this video to explain exit strategies, personal organization exit strategies, and some things you could be thinking about. And then I'm also going to do a couple of other videos just to go into greater detail, but I just wanted to put this bug in your ear. Okay, everything, you know, comes to an end. It does. Everything does. You don't have to feel like you have to run an organization for 150 years in order to create something positive in the world or to fix a wrong, you know, right or wrong in the world. You can do that and then move on, or you can shift your approach and how you do things and move on. Okay? All right, so it's Shalita the Nonprofitista O'Neill. I am your nonprofit development coach. For some one-on-one support, go to shalitao'neill.com, or just to figure out what are some other ways that I can support you, whether you're just starting your nonprofit or whether you've been running your nonprofit for many years and you just need a little bit of revitalization, you know, some different types of support, you know, I'm here for you as well. Make sure you subscribe. Please subscribe and share this video and like it if you found it helpful. Leave any comments below if you have any questions about it. Until next time, be blessed.